All right. So today we are doing a review of student work for the March 2024 paper 1 exercise 6, which is a report. But before that, I will quickly go over what we did yesterday again, because there was a glitch with my mic and it wasn't being detected by the recording software. And so the video has no audio. You can just see me editing student submissions. Uh, I, it hasn't recorded anything of what I said as to why I did what I did. So just quickly going over that. So anyone who's seen that video or wants to see it has an idea of what I was doing. Scrolling down. Okay, here we go. So obviously the parts in blue are what the student originally submitted. And one issue was that it was rather lengthy. It was about 230 something words. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, sir. I'm fine. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Okay. So the first thing we had to do was, well, one of the things we had to do was to bring it down, but also some of the polishing that we did was, for example, take all of these lines, right, and then compress them into just these two lines. And you can see that we've maintained the meaning while making it much shorter. Right. One area of improvement for the student that I recommended was that there's repetition of the content. Right. So mentioning that we prepared and we prepared, so mentioning that, and mentioning the excitement again and again. Right. So excitement over there, and then excitement later on, as you can see, which I cut out. Then a bit of rearrangement. So this part where it says our principal gave a speech, I did I take that later? I removed the entirely, perhaps. I think I removed that entirely. Okay. Then there was a bit of contradiction where they mentioned that a member of the band that was playing did not perform, and then they later showed up as a surprise. And I said, well, there was there's just like a one-line gap between the member not being there and then showing up. That there isn't enough context, and so the writing task in 0510 is really short. Don't really have a lot of breathing room as far as the word limit is concerned to give context, and so I cut that part out as well to streamline the response. Then we took this line and rephrased it, sound better. The student agreed. Right, so it seemed better. Bit of editing over here. Right, this line I changed because it sounded too formal and the task is an informal email. Also, we changed some of the words to contractions such as could have to could have, would have to would have, because it is an informal email, and so that is something that you want to highlight. Right, so the features of an informal email. You can very well add figurative language. In fact, you should add figurative language as well. And then, right, having that whole thing, we did come down by 100 words approximately, 100 or so, and we were within the word limit. Right, so we maintained the meaning that we wanted to give, also brought it down to within the word limit, and polished it up. Okay, and I did suggest the student to rewrite their submission with only the edited parts, to have a clean version of the writing, and then to go on and compare. We have this one where all the cutting and the changing is, and then you have the original version, and then you have the new clean version which is edited with all the suggestions, and you can compare and see how I went from submission A to all the work, and then submission B, and what changes that were made and why they were made and how they were made and what improvement they brought overall. Similarly, for the second submission, right, this was 164 words, so the word limit was an issue. It was rather well written. There were minor changes to make. Right, so for example, By changing the had to have, that was actually a suggestion by Google Docs itself. I took this line and I mentioned it later, right? That something exciting happened when the performance started, and they're mentioning how they felt relaxed. We changed the words a bit, rehearse. So the rehearsing was used twice, and so I changed the first one to practicing with the seniors, as and then rehearsing with the group, which is like more appropriate. Again, rephrasing, right, what was written, and then this line I put an asterisk. So this is sort of a rephrase of these three lines, right? And then the letter continues, the email continues, right? A bit of crossing out. A suggestion here of saying went instead of gone. And yeah, so right, those were the suggestions for this particular submission. Now, coming to today's task, it was exercise 6 from the same paper, which is a report. You can see we've got one of them. I had only assigned this yesterday, so both of them were not able to submit it, which is fine. So we'll just go over the one that we have in today's class. Just load. Okay, so they've put in the question here as well. Let's read that before we get into it. It says your class recently went to a careers day to get information about different types of jobs. Now, your teacher wants you to write a report about careers day. And so report writing is something that we have covered. We've looked at the format, we looked at the sample document that Cambridge has provided. So having gone over that a second time, it's available in one of the earlier recordings. The topic that's covered in the class is mentioned in the description, so you can take a look at that. In your report, say what you found useful about the careers day and how you think it could be useful to cover both of these topics. Here are some comments from students in your class. So the 4 of them given, and 2 of them will most likely align with the usefulness, and 2 of them will align with what could be improved. So the people were very friendly, and I managed to ask a lot of questions, so that's the usefulness. All the jobs were quite similar, and one day wasn't quite long enough, so that's something that could be put into possible improvements for next year. Now write a report for your teacher about the careers day. Right, the comments above may give you some ideas, and you should also use some ideas of your own. So again, as I explained, right, elaborate on the ideas that are given and possibly include something new that isn't given. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so first glance, you've got a heading, right, and then you've got it split out into subheadings. Now, one thing I can notice right off the bat is the use of bullet points. That is not something I would recommend. The reason being is the requirement by Cambridge, right? So the examination requirement, syllabus requirement, how they expect you to write it out. It's not about how things happen in the real world. In the real world, this might work very well. Okay, but not as to what Cambridge is expecting you to do. Okay, so Cambridge wants you to write, even if you give in subheadings, Cambridge wants you to write it out in continuous writing, as it's called, which is not in bullet form or points, right? So in paragraph form. But we'll get to that later. So first, let's do a word count. It's giving me 171. 164 for just the actual report that we have, and that is again right, very good in terms of right sticking to the word limit. Let's read through this first. Careers day. Introduction. As requested by my teacher, I have written this report about the careers day a class attended recently. Here's a quick summary of my experience. Okay, positive points. The event began with various professional workers describing their jobs, education, and the skills required. However, the most well-received part of the event was when we got a chance to ask questions, making me feel that they encourage us to talk rather than a monologue. Many students said that the people were very friendly. This made conversation between us, students, and experts comfortable. Okay. Negative points. Although many enjoyed it, some were disappointed because all the jobs were quite similar. Furthermore, a few felt that they should have extended the schedule. Suggestions. The event can be improved in the future by inviting specialists or alumni from diverse interests, such as arts, healthcare, business, and TEDx. Schedule the event in such a way that we have time for the students to learn each career in detail. All right. So overall, well written. Uh, it can be improved, however. So one thing I want to improve on or change slightly is the headline for the report. Right now, this works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but to be like to just make it very obvious, you can do report on careers day. Right, and for a report this works. So whatever the topic of the report is, you can just write report on and whatever the topic is. So this is it's asking you write a report to your teacher about the careers day. So that's what you do. Report on careers day. That's your heading. Introduction. Okay. As requested by my teacher, I've written this report about the careers day our class attended recently. Here's a quick summary of, it's not just yours, it's our experience. And with experience, you can also use feedback. Right? Because feedback includes the positive, the negative, and the suggestions. Okay. Then what you can do is what you found useful about the careers day. Can we change this subheader? Do we need to? So I guess it works. Possibly. But no, let it be. So the event began with various professional workers. What you can do is you can just say professional. With various professionals, cut out workers, describing their jobs, education, and the skills required. We can change the order of that. We can say education, job, or position, and the skills or education, jobs, and the skills required for the position. So we can write that here. Okay, asterisks. Describing the education, jobs, and skills required for the position. Okay, we don't need a however over here. Right? However is to give contrast. Right, so at this point you don't really have a contrast to give. And so changing that to a capital T, provided strike out. Still not working. The most well-received part of the event was when we got to ask, got the chance to ask questions. You can say that, or you can say was the Q and A session. And so I guess that's fewer words as well, right? Was when we got the chance, that's 5, 6, 7, 8. But was the Q and A session. So that's 4 words, that's half. Making me feel that encouraged. Okay, and you can rephrase. I'm just suggesting how to rephrase this and improve this, right? So, making me feel that the encourages to talk rather than a monologue. So you can say that. Uh, and because this is a report, it's supposed to be formal language. Uh, that's how we could possibly, or it could be changed even further, right, with slight more modifications, but I'll leave it at that. Many students said that the people were very friendly. This made conversations between us, put a dash over there, students and experts. Now, if you put a dash over there to separate the fact that you are elaborating on what us means and you won't use a comma on the other end, you would use another dash. Right? So I've actually cut out the comma, that's what it's trying to show. Many students said that and I don't know why it's going up on the next line. Okay, that's just ugly. Anyway, so many students said that the people were very friendly. This made conversation between us, students, and experts comfortable. Okay. Negative points. Although many enjoyed it, some were disappointed because all the jobs were quite similar. Furthermore, a few felt that they should have extended the schedule. Okay, that's fine. Suggestions. Now, this I said this that we don't want this as bullet points, so we're going to rewrite that as a paragraph. The event can be improved in future by inviting specialists or alumni from diverse interests such as arts, healthcare, business, and TEDx. Now, I want to ask you a fun. Why have you added TEDx as a specialist from diverse interests?
Because like when I used to be in school, we had clubs for different subjects, and then one of them used to be TEDx, where students would go on stage and talk about anything.
But see, the thing about TEDx is, or TED in general, is that it's not a separate kind of specialization. It's a platform or a forum where specialists of different fields come in and talk about something that they have discovered or researched, or self-help or something, right? Some topic. So it's a platform for specialists to share rather than a specialization in itself. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Right? So the TEDx that you had at your school is fine. And so basically students would, I'm guessing, as you said as well, that students would take the stage and then talk about perhaps different experiences they had in life or something they learned in life. Was that the case?
Yes.
Right? So again, right, you could assume that they had specialization, right? And they were different specialists coming to stage and then talking about whatever the top, whatever it was. And so I would not include TEDx as a specialist or an alumni. Schedule the event. Okay, schedule the event in such a way that we have time for students to learn each. Okay, now we have time. So this is a bit confusing, right? Why would like we have time for the students? Like you're not part of the management. This sort of gives the impression perhaps that right, you're part of the management or the organization committee or something. Right, the we over there doesn't sit well. So rewriting this,
Such a way that we have time to learn each
we
day.
can remove the we. Right, we can say schedule the event in such a way that students have time to learn about each career in detail. You can do without the we. Just let me write it out and then you can take a read and tell me what you think of it. So the subheading is the same. I'm just putting in the text. Or in fact, let me streamline that as well. Future events can be improved by writing specialists. Again, also alumni, right? Alumni are actually associated with organizations, right? And not so much with careers, right? So you for careers, you've got veterans, right? People who've been there long enough to know the ins and outs and as the phrase goes, knowing the ropes. Okay, so uh, alumni is also something I wouldn't use. Alumni is like, so for example, right,
Okay.
the university I went to McGill University, so I am an alumnus, right? That's singular. So I'm an alumnus of McGill University. Okay.
Okay.
But someone who's been teaching for you know a long time, right? I'm not there yet. I'm close, hopefully. But what they are called, right? Teachers who've been there for 10 years or more, right? They're called veteran teachers because you would expect them to be really experienced in the field, right? So if you want, you can write inviting specialists and veterans
Okay.
from diverse interests such as arts, healthcare, and business. Also, right, the event should be scheduled such as to allow students to learn about each career in reasonable detail or depth. Well, detail is fine. Okay, so that is my suggestion for the last bit. Now, can we figure out how many words you have? There's 32 words minus 1, that's 31. 31 and 8, 39. 49. And 57. 57 and 61. 71 and 81 and 89. Okay, so far so good. So 89 and 99, 109 and 116 and 38. So 16, 26, 36, 46, 54 and so 155 words is what we have, is what you'll get when you rewrite this, focusing only on the the revisions. And so you had 164 to begin with, now you have 155 after revisions, right? So you actually brought down the word by the word count by 9 in total as well, while polishing it out. Now, what do you think about the suggestions?
Yes, good.
Good? You're okay with it?
Yes. Yes, yes.
Okay. So I will return that to you. And we're done with that. Alright, that's all for this session. It was a bit short, but that's fine. And alright, I'll see you guys next time, inshallah.